If you're still playing fantasy football in Week 17, you're in luck. A lot of games still mean something in the final week of the regular season. We're going to help you out, tell you which players to exploit and avoid this week in fantasy football. Joined by our fantasy expert, Mike Wilkeny. And Mike, let's start on the exploit side. 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, a game to forget last week against the Seahawks, but you say go ahead and start him in the finale.
I do, because when you look at where the Niners are in this stage of the season, they need the game to win, to clinch the division, to clinch the seeding they want. And I think when you look at where the Niners are, they're going to want Colin Kaepernick to enter the playoffs on a high note. I think getting him in optimal positions to succeed, I think, is going to be a key part of their game plan here in Week 17. And you look at Arizona, they're a team that doesn't have anything to play for at this point. They had all sorts of problems with Alex Smith in the first meeting between the teams. I think this could be a game where Kaepernick really plays well, the Niners get out to a big lead, and everybody feels good about where San Francisco's offense is getting into the postseason.
49ers need a win to clinch the NFC West. A team that's not playing for anything is the Eagles. Running back LeSean McCoy, though, had a nice week in his return last week. Faces a Giants team that's not playing very well in defense. Giants still have some playoff hope yet, but the Eagles, you got to imagine they're going to be playing pretty hard for Andy Reid in this last game.
I think so, and you've got Michael Vick at quarterback now too, which I think is a positive for the offense. And McCoy, first game back last week, 24 touches, 122 total yards. Those are nice numbers. Those are featured back numbers, and he's a featured back. You drafted him to be a featured back. You drafted him for games like this, and the Giants have allowed 702 rushing yards in the last 4 games. They're not in good form defensively. That's one of the reasons they're in the position they're in right now, where they need to win and to have help in Week 17. I think Philadelphia is going to give them a game, and I think LeSean McCoy is a strong start in Week 17.
On the other side of the table, you have the players to avoid, and pretty much everyone in that St. Louis Rams offense you're going to want to avoid this week. Rams having a nice season, impressing a lot of people, more for their defense and special teams. Not a good matchup for St. Louis this week.
I think the question you have to ask with regards to the St. Louis Rams on Sunday is, what's their upside? What's their ceiling? They're 26th in points scored, and they're playing Seattle at home. That's a nightmare situation. The Seahawks are great at home this year. Their defense is hitting on all cylinders. I just tend to think you stay away from low upside positions as much as you can. I stress that every week here. You've got to get into situations where there's some upside for you. And I look at St. Louis, if you've got to start Steven Jackson or Danny Amendola, you do that. You know, and I think you do it not expecting a ton. Everybody else, I think you kind of rule out here, all things considered. I just don't think there's a lot of potential for St. Louis's offense this week.
Similar team situation where you want to avoid their offense, the Oakland Raiders playing the San Diego Chargers this week in the final game of the season. San Diego's defense been very strong versus the run this year. Oakland's offense got a new quarterback under center this week, not Carson Palmer. Avoid the Raiders, you say, this week.
I do. I think when you look at the Raiders, a quarterback change, San Diego playing well defensively, I just tend to think that this is a situation where you probably look at Oakland and say, okay, we're going to look to next season with them. We're not going to depend on anybody in a game that doesn't mean a lot. We're going on the road. I just think in Week 17, it's a set of challenges for fantasy owners, and this is a game where I think there's just not a lot of optimal upside here.
Not a lot of teams resting players this week, but you do have situations where you wonder if teams like the Raiders might be a little cautious with some of their stars looking ahead to next season. Well, if you're still playing, we wish you luck. Hope this helps players to exploit and avoid. To see all of that as well as our fantasy rankings, head to our website at profootballweekly.com.